but looking back, I had, I don't know, hundreds of calls with Jay, calls with you, and the rest is history. There are a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I really literally sacrificed my entire 20s, to do so. But I wouldn't trade in the world.
And I think that's, for a lot of people that especially get into real estate, right? They're looking for that freedom and they don't understand. And even like if they start to look at you, they can get in trouble because it's like, y'all don't know what's had to happen since 2005. And so understanding all of the work and the foundation to be able to even get to that point. And that's what it takes, right? Can you collapse time? Yeah, I don't think there's cutting any corners. I think you can collapse time. I think you could avoid some of the pitfalls. I think you can avoid some of the unnecessary sacrifices just by proving a way and having a way. And it's the whole, imitate before you innovate. Talk about that foundation, because I think this is a big get for everybody that has tried to add people and then it doesn't work, and then tries to add people and it doesn't work. And then you said, no, we got to build a strong foundation. What does that mean? What does that look like?
So at the time, I thought it meant systems. I thought it meant lead sources. And I think what it really means is it does mean those things, but I really think it means you have to build the foundation of being a leader. And so if you've ever really studied leadership, or if you haven't read the book, The 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, you should go and read it. And I've probably read it 5 times by now. But you really have to build the foundation of you being a leader and knowing what value are you going to add? Because it's hard enough to lead people, but now we're not just leading people, we're leading entrepreneurs. We're leading independent contractors. They're not on salaries. We can't lean on our position. We're not paying their salary. So I had to really learn, who was it that I thought that I could add value to, who would want the value that I had to add. And then how can I pour into them so that they would do better with me than they would do on their own. So the systems part, although that's a lot, it's labor intensive and it's expensive, that's important. But I think the leadership part is even more important.
You can't understand meditations until you understand the time period that Marcus Aurelius was going through. And so you look at like what you guys have been able to do in a short amount of time. It's really hard to understand that unless you understand the story that got you there and the experience and the journey that got you there. And so that's what I love about these conversations and being able to listen to those stories, because then it helps you understand what's working today, what's going on now.
You can stand still and you're just going to keep standing still. But if you take action, even if you take the wrong action, you're immediately going to get feedback. You're immediately going to know either I took the right action, I took the wrong action, or I could have done something different. And you have the opportunity to course correct. But you're still farther down the road than you would have been if you just were standing still. So that's the key, I think, to what has allowed us to do what we've done, is just that decision that we're going to take action. And sometimes that's done out of necessity. Again, when you gotta eat, so you got to go do something.
Because I do believe your environment can immediately change your emotions.
100%.
So I did a really cool, 10, 15-minute Facebook Live about that today, right? Like, if you control what you're internally saying to yourself, plus what you're verbally expressing, that's your language. If you can control that, if you could recognize negative thought, because we all have it, right? It's about recognizing it and saying, oh man, caught myself. Let me rephrase that, rechange that. And then you change your physiology, stand up, smile, just change. And then what you focus on. But what if every once in a while you changed your environment to a place that inspired you? And it doesn't have to be getting on a plane and traveling. Going for a walk to a beach, going to your favorite spot, going for a hike. What if you encompass that fourth element to generate some inspiration so that changed what you focused on, change your physiology, and change the language in what you're saying to yourself?
Then our thoughts, collectively over time become, new beliefs, and those beliefs drive how we feel. how we feel drives our behavior, and, you know, our behavior over time forms habits, and then that dictates our results. So definitely a huge believer in that. I mean, it allows for creativity, especially when you're in kind of typically in an environment to where you're you're grinding, you know, very tactical, you know, executing, and then being able to get out of that environment. It's crazy, just a little bit of that preparation, what it'll allow you to do. I think it's you know, for me, it's getting crystal clear on, you know, what is essential, right? What is necessary versus, man, I think I need to be doing this. And it just goes from a busy to a, you know, busy to really being productive, right? Being effective. Right. And, you know, and you know, another little component to that's not even in there as it relates to, you know, the team, right? If you guys are leading, having a team is even kind of thinking through kind of what are those main initiatives that, you know, the things that they have on their plate, and where are they at? And
yeah, absolutely. And it's like you just get caught up in that whirlwind of, you know, energy and things that the world's happening, you know, all those different things, right? Like, yeah, there's so much stuff happening in the world with the feds and the this and the that's and the Christmas time and the holidays. And, you know, if you're not intentional with what you are, yeah, you can get sucked into any of those things, whether we want to or not. So it's like, no, hold on, time out. I got to go do this real quick. You know, it's what I've been saying a lot this week. For sure.
Yeah.
I think Joe Rogan actually talks about this. If you do something that is like just unbearably hard first thing in the morning, all the noise that goes on with your life, whether it's, you know, this 8% interest rates or depleting inventory or, you know, personal things that are going on, you know, if you're in the suck at the very beginning of the day, it just kind of helps you navigate through what the noise of everyday life happens to look like. And that's been my, you know, CrossFit's kind of been my outlet to get away from all the craziness in the therapy and just be able to think a little bit clearly.
Yeah.
Have some fun with it too. So,
well, for some, right? Obviously, yeah. For you it is. You know, I'm with you 100%, right? You know, get into the suck as fast as you can, and, you know, doing hard things really, it makes everything so much more bearable, so much easier to deal with, so much just like it you know, certain things don't bother you as much as they used to. And, you know, none of us really want to, you know, it's easy to fall into complacency, right? And so I think it comes down to that word discipline, and doing those hard things over an extended period of time. But I'm with you, you know, it's some type of mindfulness, especially in those moments of almost solitude. And I believe, I mean, you know, the camaraderie and doing things and doing it with other people, that's great. However, and I don't know for you, for me, you know, it's those moments, you know, hours in of just you, right? Alone in your thoughts, and you're kind of, you're forced to deal with those things. It helps put a lot of things into perspective. I remember when we were going into, and I probably shared this with you, we were heading into, I think it was maybe March, April of 20. It was either end of March or the beginning of April. And I remember having one of the most powerful conversations with my dear friend, Mr. Blake Sloan. And he was kind of relaying a message that his coach was telling him. His coach is Garrett White. And Garrett was telling him that, you know, like, motivation and activity is not going to get us out of this. You're going to have to lead your way out of this. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, from a leadership perspective and doing the things to improve on that skill set daily, how impactful and how important are you seeing that as the market's doing what the market's doing, as we head into, you know, this kind of dark winter of seasonality and uncertainty, heading into the first quarter? Like, where are you seeing things, and how important leadership is, you know, right now?
And I think that's where like the mindset is everything, right? Like I'm built for difficult times. Like give me, like, that's where I shine. Like the more chaos, the more difficult, like the more ready I feel like I am. So I tell the team, I'm like, regardless of the market, right? Our action is going to determine our economy. So what we do every day is going to determine the economy we're going to have. Good economy, bad economy. If we're doing nothing, it's going to be a shitty market. If we're dialing and doing what we need to do, prospecting and branding ourselves and being in the community, our action is going to dictate a really good first quarter.
And just pour it all out, right? No issues remain after this weekend, right?
Right.
So whatever you have going on between this first 4 months and this that we can't handle in single conversations or things that may be bothering you on a group level, we're going to handle that day. And we'll spend as much time here as that day as we have to work through all of that. And then it's always the constant heart-to-heart conversations with all your people, the one-on-ones, right?
Yeah.
Not group stuff, but the one-on-one conversations.
Explain kind of what your intent when you have those one-on-ones, because it's a leadership conversation for everybody listening to this, that if you've got anybody kind of under your watch that you're you're responsible for, them executing on whatever function they have, a key of success, but having that one-on-one conversation for you, what is the intent of that conversation?
So the one-on-one for me is for building relationship. The relationship is foundation of everything, right? If you're a boss and I'm an employee and that's our relationship, there's not a whole lot of depth there, right? You come in, you yell at me, you tell me everything I'm doing wrong, right? And that's kind of the relationship. But this is I'm an employee here and you're an employee here, right? My role is this, your role is this. But this conversation is heart to heart of where you at in life, man. And when they know that the person sitting across from them has their best interest in mind, it's a different conversation, right? That boss-employee relationship doesn't work. In my experience, it doesn't work because there's an expectation that comes with it, right? So what I want to do automatically is I want to take all of that out of the way. I want to level the playing field. I want us to sit down at a table. I'm Bo, you're Maurice, whoever that is. And we're where are you at in life right now, man? Yeah. What's going on with you? How can we as a business, what can we do to improve your quality of life? Right? What does that look like? And now if they set out a bunch of things that we can do, then we get to have the conversation of where we're at as far as a boss employee or whatever that looks like and say, okay, in order for us to get there, this is what that looks like.
I mean, there's always a way, right? There's always an opportunity. Do you think, to his advantage, you said early on, so he really didn't develop any bad habits. He didn't know any better. It was just like, okay, this is the game and just let's figure out how to play the game to where I can win. And as not everybody has that type of fortitude or mindset like you do, right? To go back and give me some examples. Let me really think through this. Do you see right now agents that are getting into the business maybe have a leg up advantage because they're not conditioned to the way things have been through the unicorn years over the last 2 or 3 years? Do you kind of see that could play into their advantage because they don't know any better?
Absolutely. You don't know what you don't know. And so what I look at back when I started in 94, I'm on my 28th, 9th year, whatever the math comes to. May 9th, 1994 was my first day. So what I look back then is we didn't have the coaching. We didn't have the tools that were shared at scale of what we have today. So when I look at Ron as my mentor, he just looked at what is survival. He was so clear on where he wanted to go that every day he put in the time. And so what he knew is that there was days where he could be the CEO for 2 hours, but then he had to go be an agent for 4 hours and then go back and put his CEO hat on. So he knew when to be working in the business versus on the business. And there wasn't really a blueprint or a book that was shared. Unlike today, there's so many people that are sharing and having platforms like yours. I remember in like 90, I don't know, it's 96, 97, there was a gentleman that stepped out of corporate America, and he was working for ConAgra at the time, which is a big corporation in our area. And he got into the business and he approached it as a business. That was the first person that I actually looked and I said, wait a second, like he's actually running this like a corporation. I was just seeing some of the different processes and things he was doing. And it was fascinating because it has some similarities to us, but we were bootstrapping it. I mean, we were just working really hard, and it really opened my eyes to that. And I think that there's a lot of people today, whether they step out of corporate America or wherever they're coming from, if they have the right structure and the focus, there's plenty of opportunities in the business. It's just a matter of, again,
I would say anybody probably 40 and up, you know, growing up with parents, grandparents, to where you had to do everything, you know, being so hardwired in how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? And, you know, I just love Dan Sullivan's concept. That's not how life is anymore, right? We don't have to do everything. And there's a lot of who equations, and there's a lot of, even with technology, even with, you know, just had Carlos on, you and I talked about it, the AI conversation yesterday. I mean, shit, Chat GPT can give us the answer probably. And so, you know, just being resourceful and knowing that you have a move. Everybody has a move. The only time that you don't is just when you quit.
Yeah. I think that I've always been resourceful. I think I've always been, I don't know. I was a middle child. I have a stepsister that's a year younger, and my sister is 3 years older. And like I said, I was the son my dad never had, and so I was always, and you know, I've always, my older sister always kind of went to my dad. My younger sister went to my stepmom because that's who, you know, her mom was. So I'm like in the middle here going, okay, who do I have? So I think I guess I'm never satisfied with no. I'm not okay with no, and I'm going to find a way. There's somehow, some way, there's got to be a way.